Good to see you guys. It really is always a joy to come back and worship with you all and be a part of what God's doing here at Crossroads. I want to ask, if you will, take just a moment inside your bulletin, open it up. Right there in the middle, you'll see the outline for the message this morning, and I want you to have that ready. Now, let me just do a couple of questions here. I'm just curious. How many of you in your life have ever taken some type of music lessons? Anybody? Oh, wow. Wow, good for you. I wouldn't have guessed. I saw some of you. I'm going, no way. How many of you ever taken any swimming lessons? Anybody swim? My dad gave me my first swimming lesson the old-fashioned way. I said, Dad, I want to learn to swim. He said, come here, son. Find your way back. That was my swimming lesson. How about golf? Anybody taken any golf lessons? Okay, very good, a few of you. How many of you ever taken any dance lessons? Yeah? Okay, good. Libby and I took dance. We took shag lessons. It was really fun. She's really good at it. Any cooking lessons? Anybody? Okay, very good, good. So, how about any scuba diving? No way. Seriously? Good for you. I would never, ever do that. I know what's down there, and I don't want to have anything to do with it. Anybody underwater basket weaving? No, you did not. You're just ruining the point. Well, we believe in our society, whether it's something fun or something a little more serious, we believe in continuing education. We like to learn and relearn and learn again. It's interesting, though, that there's one area that most of us have had absolutely no formal training in, and yet it's one of the most important things in life. It is relationships. I guess we think sometimes they're just automatic. You're just going to find someone that you want to be friends with, or maybe later on you want to be serious with, husband and wife with, and we just assume it's just going to happen right. We're never educated in it. And so a lot of times it doesn't turn out well, or certainly doesn't turn out as good as it could. So we're looking in this series called Building Great Relationships, about different parts of relationships that help the relationship to be better. It can be with a coworker, it can be with a friend, a spouse, it can be with your child, it can be with your parent. How do we build great relationships? Now, today we're going to be talking about how to bring out the best in other people. We're basing this series on 1 Corinthians chapter 13, and in verse 4, Paul said this: love is kind. Love is kind. What does that mean? The J.B. Phillips translation puts it this way: love looks for a way of being constructive. Underline those two words there, being constructive. Love looks for a way of improving someone else's life. It builds people up. It is kind. And kindness is love in action. Kindness is love in action. So we're going to be talking today about how to be a people builder. Look what Paul said in Romans chapter 15, verse 2. He said, we should consider the good of our neighbor and help build up his character. That's part of our responsibility as Christians, to build up each other, to encourage each other, to bring out the best in other people. Now, how do you do that? How do you do that? Now, folks, this message applies to all of us. If you're a teacher or a parent, husband or wife, a friend, a student, if you work with business partners, all of us have people around us that we could bring out good things, better things, the best things in their lives if we're willing to invest in doing that. And you build people up by kindness. Kindness is giving people what they need, not what they always deserve. Now, Jesus gave people four things, the same four things that we're going to talk about today. If you're going to be a good people builder, we need to do these same things that Jesus did with his disciples. We need to do with others. All right? So let's look at what these things are so we can learn how to bring out the best in other people. Number one, first thing we need to do is we need to give the person a personal challenge. If you want to bring out the best in somebody, you need to challenge them. You need to challenge them. Paul put it this way in Ephesians 4. He said, I urge you to live a life worthy of the calling you have received. He says, he urges us to live a life that is worthy of the calling that God has given us. He's encouraging people to make their lives count. He's challenging them. He's saying, don't waste your life. Be all that God meant for you to be. Why? Because everyone needs a cause. Everyone needs a project. Everyone needs a dream that calls forth the best in our lives. And other people need that as well. Do you know why we've been able in our country to send people to the moon and return them safely to the earth? Do you know how we were able to fly space shuttles and send a spacecraft to Mars and even Jupiter? You know how all of that started? It started because on May 25th, 1961, then President John F. Kennedy delivered a challenge to our nation. He said this, and I quote, I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth. Several years ago, NASA's rover Curiosity landed on Mars. It never would have happened without that challenge. People thought he was crazy putting that challenge out there. But we as a nation at that time would never have done it unless we were challenged. For 12 years, the Green Bay Packers, professional team, they won only 30% of their games. In 1958, they were 1 win and 10 losses. Is that me? What am I doing, Joe? Switch to a hand mic. Turn it on. Anyhow, for years, the Green Bay Packers were just deplorable in their record. Not good at all. In 1958, they were 1 win and 10 losses. They had had a losing season for 12 consecutive years. And along came a guy, anybody know his name? Vince Lombardi. Vince Lombardi came in and was incredibly successful. He was a people builder. And during the next 9 years, the Packers under Vince Lombardi had 9 winning seasons. They did incredibly well. They beat their opponents 75% of the time. They walked away with 5 national championships, including the first 2 Super Bowls. He turned a losing team into a winning team. He knew exactly how to bring out the best in other people by issuing them personal challenges. Frank Gifford said it was not just Lombardi's knowledge of football that created this. It was his ability to motivate the players. He could get that extra 10% out of an individual. Multiply 10% times 40 men on the team times 14 games, and you are going to win. Lombardi constantly challenged his team and the individual members of his team. Gifford said, coaches who can outline plays on a blackboard are a dime a dozen. The ones who win get inside their players and motivate them in that way. Folks, that's what we need to do for people around us. If we really want to love them, we need to find ways to challenge them. We need to be challenged. We need to have people in our lives to challenge us, and we need to do that for other people to truly love them. We all need someone who's going to issue personal challenges, who will help us discover what we're really good at and do it. This happened with me when I was in high school. After I became a Christian, a believer, I was, 16. I was almost 16 years old, 15 years old when I got saved. And about a year or so later, I felt like God was calling me into ministry. But I just didn't think there was any way that was possible. And there was a teacher in my school. His name was Charlie Toth. He was an English teacher. He was a hippie. I mean, a bona fide, unapologetical hippie. Had a big old beard. You think back to the typical hippies, it was him. And he was a Christian. I didn't know you could be a hippie and be a Christian. I had no clue. And he kind of took me under his wing. And so I shared with him things like, I think I might want to go into ministry. I think God's trying to talk to me about that, but I'm not really that smart. I can't do this. I can't do that. He said, well, go take the SATs. They're coming up. So I went and took them. And sometime later, he called me down to the counselor's office with him. And he went into Mr. Newberry's office. And I sat down, and they both looked at me and said, Kevin, and I'm thinking, they're going to tell me how smart I am, that no one has scored this well on the SAT test in all of Brooklyn Park High School history. And Charlie, now by this time, you've got to understand, we had a good relationship. I trusted him. And he looked at me and he said, Kevin, we just want to know what you've been doing your life in the past 12 years that you've been in school. Because you have shown us the absolute worst score on the SATs that we've ever seen. I'm like, really? He said, really? But we can help you get better. Are you serious? He said, we can do it. We're going to work with you. We're going to get you back on track. We're going to fix some things that we think you need to do. And do you know what? I got in college. 2-year college. They took anybody. But I got in. Then I went to a 4-year school. Got in. It was a smart college. And I got in. And I graduated. What's in between cum laude and the valedictorian? Magna cum laude? I graduated, oh lordy. No, I did good. I did really good. And I went on later and got my master's degree. Went on later and got my doctorate degree. Now, I'm not bragging, and I'm not that smart. I am far more educated than my level of intelligence shows. But I'll say this. Without his encouragement, I don't know that I would have went to school. I don't think it would have happened. There are people in your life, people all around you, that need to be challenged in a positive way to take the next step in their journey, to start being involved in something that they think they can't do. They need your challenge. It is a way that you love them. Does that make sense? That's what we need to do. So find somebody. Don't start. Just start where you are. Just encourage them. Find something that they're doing good and tell them about it. Then if it's someone that's really close to you, find a specific area and let them know how they could get better in that. We all need it, folks. Secondly, another way you show love, kindness, is that you give those folks complete confidence. You give them complete confidence. Romans 15:2 says this, we who are strong in the faith ought to help the weak in order to build them up in the faith. Folks, we all need confidence. When somebody believes in you, it brings out the best in you. It gives you the courage to attempt and accomplish things that you think you otherwise may not be able to do. Now, Jesus did this particularly well with Peter, one of his disciples. Peter's name in Greek is Petros, and it means pebble. Jesus said, Peter, Petros, pebble, you are going to be a rock. He said, I'm giving you a new name. And when Jesus said that to Peter, he was anything but a rock. He wasn't there yet. He was Mr. Impulsive. He was Mr. Foot in Mouth. And Jesus said, you're not there yet, but you're going to be a rock one day. Jesus didn't tell him what he was. He told him what he could become. He told him what he could be. He told him the potential that he had. And that's how you build confidence in other people. Folks, whenever you label somebody negatively, you reinforce what they are. If you say you're lazy or you're unorganized or you've got a problem with your temper, you limit them. They're going to become discouraged. What they need to be is built up, not put down. One time in the Old Testament, there was a man named Gideon. He was hiding from the enemy army in the bottom of a grape presser down under the ground where he was thrashing grain to get something to eat. And God came to him and said, Gideon, you are a mighty man of courage. And at the moment, he was anything but a mighty man of courage. He was a wimp. He was afraid. He was hiding. God said, but here's what I see in you. You can become a mighty man of courage. That's what it means to build people up, to encourage them, to give them the confidence they need. Look what Paul said in 1 Thessalonians 5:11. He said, encourage one another and build each other up. That's what we need to be doing for one another. Folks, there's power in affirmation. If you're going to be a people builder, you've got to be good at encouraging others. Ken Blanchard, who wrote The 1 Minute Manager, said, catch somebody doing something right and tell them. Did you ever spend any time on the rec field, football or baseball or softball? In that level of play, there are coaches. Many of them are great. Many of them are absolutely wonderful. Give their time, their energy. They do well with the kids. But have you ever seen a coach yell at a kid from the dugout because they missed a routine ground ball? And I don't mean saying, oh, Robert, I mean yelling. I really don't like people like that. At least I don't like how they're being at the moment. They're not being very encouraging at all. You can teach a kid how better not to miss it next time without tearing them down in the process. We need to be encouragers. Now think about the people you live with, around, spend time with, at your jobs at any point in time. Would they say you are an encourager? Or is that an area where you need help? Is that an area where you need to work? Let me give you some suggestions about being an encourager, giving encouragement. A few things. Number one, when you encourage people, it needs to be real. It needs to be real from the heart, not some kind of phony manipulation. It needs to be sincere and genuine. Make it really come from inside. People can tell when you're faking it, right? They know. So be sincere about it. One of the ways you can be sincere is look them in the face, look them in the eyes. Get close up to them. Say, here's something I really think you do well. Be real. Number 2, be regular. You need to be regular with your encouragement. Don't be stingy, folks. Give it out all the time. Encourage everybody. The waitress, your taxi driver, your Uber driver. Find some way to encourage people. And then number 3, it needs to be recognizable. For it to be effective, you need to be precise. The more specific you are in encouraging people, the greater the impact it has on them. Don't just say, I enjoyed the meal. That's too general. Get specific. Every once in a while, Libby will go over the top with mashed potatoes. Don't ask me how. I just know sometimes I turn around and I say, baby, I don't say I like your mashed potatoes. I say, I like the texture that you were able to bring forth in these potatoes. I do. Do I not do that? I do. That's specific. Really? I do. I mean, I'm specific. Well, maybe that's just never mind. Get specific. Tell somebody exactly what it is that you like. Give them specifics. Make it recognizable. Have you ever had a compliment that you weren't sure was a compliment? Little boy once said, Pastor, you were really full of it today. One lady said to me, when you speak, I think, he's never going to get any better. How do I take that? One person said to me, I think you are the model pastor. And I went home and I looked up the word model, and it said, a cheap plastic imitation of the real thing. So I wasn't sure how to take it. Be specific with your words of encouragement. Number 3, another way we help bring out the best in other people is we give them honest counsel. We give them honest counsel. Folks, there's no progress without learning. There's no learning without feedback. We need honest feedback. Now, since none of us is perfect, our perception gets off base, and we need people to tell us that sometimes. We all need people who will lay it out on the line and be honest. We need occasional course corrections. We do this every Monday morning in our staff meetings. We get there, and after we stop talking about this and that and the other, we get down to business. One of the things we do every Monday morning is we review the worship service. We review all aspects of it. Now, we could probably sit back and just say, oh, that sermon was great. Jason, the music was wonderful. John, you just did this. I don't want to hear that. What we want to hear is what really worked and what didn't work. How could that message have been better? Should we have rearranged the songs in a different order to make it more impactful for worship? Now, there was probably a time in my life and in John's life and in Bill's life and in Jason's life where if we were getting that kind of feedback, we might be a little insecure and it might not go over really well. You need to get over that. Just because you're criticizing something doesn't mean you're criticizing someone. Does that make sense? So give people honest counsel. Now, it matters how you give it. Would you agree with that? Look what it says in Proverbs 27:17. People learn from one another, just as iron sharpens iron. Folks, a real friend will tell you when you're making a mistake. And if you're a real friend to someone else, you're going to tell them that they are making a mistake. A real friend will level with you. They care enough to correct and confront. They'll lay it on the line lovingly. Even when it's painful, they'll tell you the truth. Proverbs 24:26 puts it this way. An honest answer is the sign of true friendship. You need to be honest. Correction is very powerful, and it can be done in a way that tears people down, but it can also be done in a way that builds people up. That lets them know this is the behavior that needs to be taken care of, but you're not putting them down as a person. Paul said this in Ephesians 4:15. Speak the truth in love. Some people quote that verse, and all they use are the first few words. Speak the truth. And they think it gives them ammunition to tell you whatever they think is true in a way that's just horrible, just horrific. It's just terrible. That's not what the Bible says at all. We're supposed to speak the truth how? In love. If you can't do it lovingly, don't do it. If you can't speak what's on your mind lovingly, don't speak it. Just keep it in. Suck it up until God changes your attitude and you can speak it lovingly. How do you do that? Fill this in. The key to proper correction: you affirm the person, you correct the behavior. I don't care who it is you're talking to, who you're trying to bring the best out in. If you do this, it will help. You affirm the person, you correct the behavior. That's how you speak the truth in love. And number 4, by the way, you're rating yourself on these, right? That little graph there is not just for fun. You need to be putting down there, are you a 0? What's it go up to, 10? Oh, there it is, yeah. You're supposed to be rating yourself, all right? You rate yourself and then put it on the cross. I'm going to find out what you said. No, just kidding. I mean, let's make this practical. How do I do in this area? How am I really doing in this? I'm doing good, not so good. I stink at this. I really need a lot of improvement. And then number 4, you want to bring the best out in other people, then you need to give them full credit. You need to give them full credit. You praise the growth and the changes that you see in their lives. I hope you have people that do that for you. I hope there are people in life that will speak lovingly and praise you for what God is doing in your life, how He's changing you. Now, sometimes that doesn't happen because we don't let people really know us, right? We don't let people inside. We want to live behind this facade with this mask on. Folks, that's unbiblical and it's unhealthy. I don't know why we do that. But you need to stop doing it. There at least needs to be 1 or 2 people in your life that you are God honest with. I mean, just here I am. You see it all. You know it all. If you don't have at least one person in your life who knows you that way, you're never going to grow. It's not going to happen. You need someone who will do that. So give people full credit. Paul said this in Romans 12:10. Let us have real warm affection for each other and a willingness, look at this, to let others have the credit. Real affection for each other and let other people have the credit. Do you know people like that? Sometimes they're few and far between. But people who can who were influential in a person's life or influential in something successful in their business, influential in some level, and they were the ones. But they give credit to other people. No, this happened because Gene did this, and Sue did this, and Al did this. And they're giving people the credit, the ones who are actually doing it. You want to bring out the best in people, you need to give them credit. Find ways to build them up. Let them know that you recognized what they did. Usually we like to share the blame and keep the credit. God says the mark of maturity is to accept the blame and share the credit. So when you look at these 4 things on how to be a people builder, give them a personal challenge, give them complete confidence, give them honest counsel, give them full credit, that's a lot to do. And you won't always feel like doing it. But kindness costs. There's always a price tag for being a people builder. It's going to cost you something. It's going to cost you energy. It's going to cost you to be inconvenienced from time to time. It's going to cost you to go the extra mile. It takes time and effort and energy and sometimes money. It always costs to be kind, to be unselfish. Usually we're so caught up in our own things in life, we don't have time to be someone who builds other people up. We focus on ourselves and we don't take time to do this for other people. So why should we do it? Why should we spend the energy? Why should we exert the effort? Look what the writer of Hebrews said in Hebrews 10:24. In response to all that God has done for us, let us outdo each other in being helpful and kind to each other. Anybody out there competitive besides me and Libby? Yeah. Oh, just a few of you? Come on now. Man, if you're competitive, you wouldn't be going like this. You'd be like, yeah, I am. Look what he says. I love this verse. Look what he says. In response to all what God has done for us, he's been so good to us. He changes us. He's patient with us. He's gracious to us. He forgives us. He encourages us. And in response to that, let us outdo each other. It's a contest. I'm going to be more kind than you this week. And next Sunday, we're going to talk about it and see who won. Wouldn't that be great? Shoot, I'd even say let's make some bets. Lay a few 20s back there on the table. That might motivate us. All of a sudden, I'm really kind. I got $100 in the pot. You do it at work. I know you do. As long as you tithe on it, I don't care. Can you imagine how people in our lives, their lives would be blessed and changed for the good if we really tried to outdo each other in the ways we've talked about today for other people? Now, that can be a bit overwhelming. Matter of fact, to even think, maybe these are 4 things that you just happen to struggle with. That's fine. We're not all good in everything. It's overwhelming to think, now I got to go home and do all 4 of these things this week. Let me just back it back a little bit. Just pick one. Just pick one area that we talked about today. Just one. And make a realistic goal that you're going to do that at least once this week. Now, if you say, well, Kevin, that's too simplistic. I'm more competitive than that. Then choose one and do it every day this week. And once you get that under your belt, then pick another one and start working on that. If you do that, Proverbs 11:17 says this: you do yourself a favor when you're kind. The New International Version puts it this way: the kind man benefits himself. Do you realize that? While you're being a blessing to other people and you're bringing the best out in them, the Bible says God turns around and blesses you. It is a benefit for you. Other people win, you win. You want to have great relationships with people? Start bringing the best out in them. And you watch how that relationship grows. I guarantee you it will. Would you pray with me, please? Father, I want to thank you for giving us an opportunity over the last few weeks and over the next several weeks of talking about how to build great relationships. It takes things like love and what that really means. It takes things like patience. It takes things like bringing the best out in others, being kind, acting kindly to other people. I want to thank you, Father, that your word is very specific. I thank you that you give us specific things we can begin doing based on your word that will help bring out the best in other people. So God, help us today, maybe during this response time. Help us just to circle one of these. Think of one of these. Put it down. Check it off. This is what I'm going to work on this week to bring the best out in a few people in my life. And in that regard, Lord, strengthen our relationships. I ask you to do this, Father, in Jesus' name. Amen.